The accounts period ended the August 2022.
Roy is going to come on to Zoom, so it's
Just
very good.
while
Keeping
Roy is
us
coming on, we have a mover and a second of leads. Moved by councillor McNish, seconded by councillor. Sorry.
Good morning, Madam.
Morning, Roy.
Good morning, Madam Mayor. Good morning, councillors, executive. Sorry I could not be there in person today, but I'm doing it online. Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for council to receive and know the finance and account report for the period ending 31st August 2022. My second part within the report is for the council to accept a write-off of $1,050.38 for the Urbanville Showground water account. In regards to the reconciliation of our cash books, as at the end of August, the council had 31.199 million in its bank account, and it had a general trust of $382,000. On page 273 is the table which reflects the amount where we have at the moment an unrestricted cash of $6.3 million. Madam Mayor, can you hear me all right?
I can, you're a little muffled, but we can hear you. Thank you.
And what we see in there is that the 75% FAGS grant money is incorporated within the 6.3 million. Also in the month of August, council received $410,000 from the first quarter payment of the FAGS grant. And that has bumped up our unrestricted funds for the time being. And even though we say unrestricted, it's actually committed. The funds have already been committed for the purpose of asset maintenance and renewals for roads. Now, in terms of 603 certificates on page 272, there were 13 applications for 603 certificates in the month of August. And in regards to the Urbanville Showground water account, I'll just provide a brief commentary, and it's on page 272. During the course of the year, a meeting was held between the Chief Executive and representatives of the Urbanville Showground regarding an ongoing historic issue associated with the build water supply. The issue relates to an amount of $1,050.38, which has been in dispute between council and Urbanville Showground relating to water usage and or water leakage since 2017. No interest has been charged on this account as it was a contentious issue. Considering the ongoing issue that has happened, and Daryl will request Daryl to talk more about his meeting with the Urbanville Showground. What I, as a finance officer, had decided that we should write off this $1,050.38 for the very last time for the Urbanville Showground. I've put that as a note as well in the end paragraph, saying it is important to note that this write-off is the final write-off for the Urbanville Showground, and that Urbanville Showground is liable to pay for any other amounts associated with its account, and no further write-off will be provided unless evidently supported by the water account holder and an inspection conducted by the council officer. And any further request will need to comply with council's concealed water leakage concession policy if a leakage is the cause of the increase in water bill. My request to the chief executive, if he wants to add on a few more comments on the showground.
Thanks, Roy. Through the mayor, basically this has been an ongoing discussion since 2017. It's particularly messy because it crossed borders, and there's some conjecture about who's responsible for what infrastructure within feet of the actual border. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. I just felt that in a gesture of not even goodwill, really. I did say, look, I'll prepare to go to council and recommend writing this off this once and last time, putting it to bed, that any future issues will be dealt with in the normal manner.
Madam Mayor.
So Roy, you finished? Yeah, okay, yeah, councillor Eddie.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Roy, and it's not a criticism. I just feel in the report, only because of my knowledge of that, the history of them, which our CEO related to just now. Very important when we speak of Tenterfield Showground that we do refer to it as a showground trust, because it is Crown there, and there is an active showground trust. That is Crown, so there's no confusion with that. Over a period of numbers of years, all that sits in Tenterfield Shire, we have been more than supportive of the trust, and even in this report by the supplying of the polythene pipe for them to lay. They've resolved that many years ago. I thought it was resolved. Anyway, in the I clearly remember in that phone meeting with the then engineer Stephen Bell, myself and Kyogo, that we'd come up with a go forward. We all worked together and linked arms and said "Kumbaya" every time something was happening. But and with utmost respect to our wonderful neighbours in Kyogo, I don't think that they've held up their end very well at all. We've done a lot, but just to do the wording, that's all, Roy. And once again, with utmost respect, I'll make sure we refer to them as the Tenterfield Showground Trust, because they are acceptable for funding through the Lands Department, and they're very aware of that. I think they're more active now than what they have been for a long time. And there will be a committee of some sort to hold events, horse events on their ground, because I know they've got funding with panels and that to get things going again over there. So yeah, this won't go away, but fully support us waiving this latest leak. But we need to work with them because we've done more than what we need to do to hopefully avert everything over there, but still ongoing. Thank you.
Any further questions? Roy, I did have a question in relation to with the location of the meters. I couldn't see on page 276 the 3 metre points, but it does say that the downstream meter from the showground is located at the bowling club. I was just wondering, therefore, is the showground trust responsible for water leakage between their offshoot and the entrance to the bowling club? To me, I would have thought the meter should be at that offshoot.
At that intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'm not sure exactly where the meter is placed, but I do know that there is a downstream meter that has been placed there. I'm not sure if Fiona or if Gillian is still in the room. They might be.
Gillian is here. I just thought, well, as long as we have a policy that if there's a leakage between the offshoot to the showground, that then the pipe heading to the bowling club, whether it's within the bowling club or not, becomes their responsibility. Thanks, Gillian.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The way that the pipe works is that there is PPs. It doesn't actually incorporate the showgrounds meter, so the meter at the bowling club is completely standalone.
Yeah.
But if there's a leakage between the bowling club and the offshoot to the showground, who's responsible?
That will be like if we got a leak on the footpath with our infrastructure, so
Okay,
we
would absorb.
know about it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Roy. So, no further questions? Oh, sorry, Councillor Secom.
Roy, just 2 things. What are the RFS reserves?
Page 273.
Yes. Council Second, that is the funding that council receives from the state government, and it's called the RFS fund. So we can only use it for RFS activities. So each year, council receives a contribution from the state government to assist in the maintenance of certain RFS assets, buildings, trucks, and that money goes into the RFS reserve.
Thank you. It's just, I didn't know what they were. The other thing is I noticed that we had 2 investments that matured 2 days ago, and one was with the NAB and one was with the Commonwealth Bank. What, have we reinvested that with the Commonwealth Bank?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. We have reinvested both of those investments, which became mature on the 26th. We have invested them for a further 3-month to a 4-month period at this stage. What we will be doing in the October meeting and the workshop before the meeting is I will be presenting a new investment policy for councillors to accept on the risk ratings of the institutions that we can invest on. So at the moment, we are pretty comfortable that we have reinvested them within the same institution for a period of 90 days and 120 days and getting a good interest return on that. And then once this policy is adopted, will be more solidified in terms of council's investments and the good investments in the short run.
Cool.
Thank you. I didn't get the end of it, but I did understand we'll be looking at this in our workshop in October. So that's fine with me.
Thank you very much, Roy. So all in favour to receive and note and write off the Tenterfield Shire Trust account. Councillor Bonner and Councillor Petty, any questions?
Apologise, Brenda.
Yep, thank you.
Probably.
Passed. Page 282, item GOB 77/22, capital expenditure report. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor Nye. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, that the council receive and note the capital expenditure report for the period of 31st August with the attachment, the A3 attachment. If there were any questions.
Thank you, Roy. Any questions to Roy on the capital expenditure report? Councillor Murphy.
Good afternoon, Roy. Page 285, the total transport network budget and year to date. Could you explain how 2 months into the new financial year, it says that 78.6% of the whole year's budget has been spent?
Total network transport.
Fiona.
I would suggest, Councillor Murphy, that that's everything to do with the fact that the budgets from last year haven't been carried out. They'll come through after the quarterly budget review at the end of September.
Okay.
What we do have, Councillor Murphy, is the process of our first ever QBR that is going to be held in end of September, early October. So as Fiona was indicating that the carry forwards have not been put into this sheet at the moment, which is the remaining money from the projects from last financial year that has not been put into it. We have to wait for the month of September to technically end for that to happen, and that is why it appears that it is 78%. But that original budget we're looking at is only the budget for this year. It's not taking into consideration as a comparative as to what has been carried forward or will be carried forward from the previous financial year.
Thanks, Roy.
Councillor Murphy, if you look at the year-to-date actuals, the 3,256,186, and the original budget of 4.142, that's the 78.6%.
So the budget is actually not brought up to date, not carried forward from last year.
It says carried forward from 21 to QBR1.
Yeah. So what you would probably what you will see, Councillor Murphy, is that in the October capital expenditure report, once those carried forwards are completed, that 78% figure will actually and should reduce, because you will increase your budget figure
Thanks, Roy, I understand.
Thank you. No further questions, all in favour? Carried. Page 286. Thanks very much, Roy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Item GOB 78/22, the trial closure of main administration building customer service counter during lunch breaks and Fridays. And I'm speaking to the report, welcome Erica, our governance manager. I'll move on second, please, first. Councillor Kim Rose, second, Councillor Sawyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to propose a 6-month trial from Monday, 3rd of October 2022 to Monday, 3rd of April 2023 to close the Tenterfield Shire Council main administration buildings customer service counter from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Mondays to Thursdays and remain closed all day on Fridays. Council's Customer Service Charter 2022 defines council days of in-person and telephone customer service availability as Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Austerity reductions in staff positions, hours of attendance and scheduled and non-scheduled leave have seen requirements for the main administration building front counter to be closed for lunch periods on 7 occasions and for entire days in the last 6 months. Council currently employs 2 permanent part-time administration and customer service officers for front counter and telephone customer services. Additional duties to their front counter and telephone services include administration duties in support of rates, as well as civic office and increasing support to planning and development services. 1 officer is employed part-time from Monday to Thursday, and 1 officer is employed part-time from Wednesday to Friday. This means that there is only 1 officer available 3 days per week and 2 officers available on 2 days per week. While other council officers from records management and governance have provided backup for lunch and leave absences from the front counter of the scheduled administration and customer service officer, this has had a significant impact on the delivery of records and governance services. There is now no redundancy for other officers to backfill during legislative lunch breaks and requirements for administration and customer service officers to be able to take leave. Records management staff must return to digitisation program duties as well as their normal daily operational duties to meet other deadlines. And the casual governance officer and manager customer service governance records must meet other competing statutory requirements. It is proposed that Council undertakes a 6-month trial to close the main administration building's front counter on Mondays to Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. for the duty administration and customer service officer to take a legislative lunch break. On the 2 days per week when both officers are on duty, they will both take their lunch break at the same time. It is further proposed that during this trial period, Council keeps the administration building and front counter closed to the public on Fridays. Recent closures due to staff reductions and unavailability have occurred on Fridays, and there are now minimal staff present in the main administration building on Fridays. A trial of remaining closed on these days would determine if customer traffic can be handled on Mondays to Thursdays, with an emphasis for customers to make contact with Council Live website and Council email box on Fridays. A customer feedback survey will be conducted in early February 2023 with the results, along with any other feedback received during the trial, to be presented to Council's ordinary meeting of 22 March 2023. And if I could beg the indulgence of Councillor Rogers, speak a little bit longer on this with respect to the trial timeline. Initially, we were looking at 3 months and how this would operate functionally with the time that we're at in here. And we found that a 3-month trial, if it commenced at the start of October, would end at the start of January. So effectively, there's no council meeting for consideration of any feedback. And also there's not an opportunity to gather a lot of feedback and have that collated from the 9th of January through to any possible meeting at the end of that month. February is our earliest meeting date. We then looked at the 4 months period And again, January is not a good month to be asking for feedback and surveying the local community due to the holiday period and school holidays. 5 months, we could look at doing survey feedback and then report at the end of February. So that would be looking at the 3rd of March, end of the trial. It doesn't necessarily allow for a workshop on it though. So that's why 6 months allowed for feedback to a council workshop following an official call out to the community in early February. So I'll now pass that over for any questions and comments.
Thanks. Questions, councillor Chair? No.
Thanks, Mayor. Very good. Just wondering, is there any traditional stats of the type of transactions that are covered over the front counter these days?
So predominantly we have our 603 processing, which comes through electronically. We don't have any of that come through across the counter. So a lot of that is now what is occurring. A lot of customers are doing electronic payments as well. They're doing telephone payments. We do see some foot traffic, usually at the end of each quarter, for payments of rates and water accounts. So that's predominantly what we're seeing. And also for people to come in for appointments for planning and development services, meetings for community development, and for the resilience officer as well, meetings for the senior executive level, and also for councillors meeting with constituents. So we have seen a shift in people doing business across to telephone and computer, and that's why it certainly does allow for it. It has meant we've been able to deal with the peaks and troughs of staff availability, but we know that it's not a long-term solution, and it's not really satisfactory for our community to be working on the ad hoc basis that we'll put a sign up and we'll let them know, and we'll send out mobile app alert and we'll put it on Facebook. That's not a long-term solution, so that's why it's proposed to do a trial on this.
Councillor Sawyer, then Councillor Councillor.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I understand completely the need for the part 1 of the recommendation. Personally have an issue with 6 months trial on 2. I understand all the reasons that Eric has given. I'm just hoping that if we do accept the recommendation, if we do get a lot of complaints about Friday closures, that we're flexible enough to be able to make a decision via the CEO that we can reopen on Fridays. Maybe if we put an amendment in here that subject to feedback from the community, part 2 can be reviewed by the CEO or something. I just think 6 months shutting down on Fridays totally for the front counter is too big an ask for the community. That's personal opinion.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Sawyer there. I can see a big backlash from the community, especially when they turn up on the Friday to pay a bill or to ask inquiry. There's no, and the office's shut. I think it's a backward step. I spoke to the GM yesterday. We'll have to go along with it, I think. But I just asked Erica, up until last year, there was one girl on the front counter. There was one in records. Now you've got 2 in records, 2 on the front counter. Is it a bit of duplication there or what?
With respect to councillor, it is an operational matter, but I will speak to it because I think the clarity when you're also being asked these questions out of the community. I came to council 4 years ago to demonstrate we had a 17% increase, and I provided statistical reporting against that every month, and then I collated it and provided it to council and explained in that period alone we had a 17% increase in demand for in-person telephone and computer-based customer services. So that actually was the basis of a budget being identified to improve our telephone services and to improve our ability to manage records coming in. And we had a requirement to increase. Now, it wasn't a year ago. We've had a records coordinator for some years now. We went to a records officer approximately 2.5, 3 years ago in support, because we were also digitising all of our documentation across the organisation. So the records coordinator cannot do the strategic level duties that they're responsible for, and also digitise, as well as all of the other operational activities a record officer undertakes. With regards to the customer service function, again, a 17% increase 4 years ago. Again, we've had that demand on our services. That certainly increased that position. We converted. We had 2 casual backups for that one permanent part-time or one full-time position. We now have 2 permanent part-time positions, and I sacrificed a full-time and a casual position for that. So we actually have a cost saving in hours that's already been delivered over the last 2 financial years. And we have 1 casual position which is providing some backup for customer service during lunch breaks, but that means that any sort of support for government services just isn't available. So we certainly have increased our positions. We've reduced our hours, those positions being filled in line with the austerity requirements, but you can only go so far.
Thanks, Anthony. I'll just go to Chief Executive.
Yeah, if the council just indulge me for a moment. The bottom line is that, well, there's probably 3 points I'd like to make. The first point is, and it has been mentioned, is the austerity measures. We have reduced our staff numbers inside the administration building dramatically. So, for instance, one of the backups that we used to use was Kirsty, who was part of my team. And as you know, when Kirsty left, I did not refill that. Sorry, Christy, sorry, I did not refill that position. And basically, it's Liv and one part-time person a couple of days a week. Having said that, you will all recall that during the recent SRB discussions, the one thing that was continually raised was the 150 staff we have in the administration building. And so we've listened loud and clear. I should point out it was never 150. And only one day now, you'll be lucky if there's between 3 and 15 people in this building. And it depends on the actual day and who's out in the field doing work. The third thing I will mention is that even if people in the front counter, often inquiries are around DAs or meetings with specialist staff. Those specialist staff are not here on Fridays because of RDOs, or they're out in the field. So we can't help the customer anyway. And I guess the fourth thing I will make is the whole world at the moment, and including local government, is in the process of going through digital transition. And there are councils now that use what we call omni-channels. And omni-channels are that everything is done via device these days, and people have to evolve to do that. I know some of our elderly residents aren't there yet, but this is the same argument you'll find from the banks. The banks have been making this move for a long time. So unfortunately, the downside is the community was very clear. They want us to run lean. They want us to do, and it was raised in Mangoola only 2 days ago. They're happy for a reduction in services provided it associates with reduction in operational costs. I'm sorry to be the negative Nelly, but that's reality. We have listened and we have cut those costs, and we can't have it both ways, unfortunately. And as has been mentioned, it is a trial. It doesn't mean we cannot back up from that trial and look at other ways of achieving the outcome, and that will be what we learn as part of the journey. Thank you.
Councillor Murphy.
In relation to which day council would close the customer service desk, 2 ratepayers having learned about this particular item had said, is there any reason why that day the service is closed could not be a Wednesday, so that there's no more than 2 days they have to, sorry, one day or 2 days for the weekend. So it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
With respond to that one, the rationale behind that is that that's actually our least traffic day. So whilst it might have an impact on those customers coming to the front counter specifically, it has the least impact on us as an organisation. So most organisations are geared up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's Monday and Fridays, the weekends, that seem to provide the least overall impost. And going back to what the Chief Executive Officer has said, it's not just about the individuals at the counter. It's whilst we are running on such a reduced number of staff in every areas, we are redeploying people to try and backfill all of those tasks right across the organisation. And as we said, there is nobody necessarily, or very limited ability to refer customers on a Friday also to deal with their particular inquiries. The other one that I don't think Eric has sort of covered either was that since, or more recently, we've even had digital initiatives thrust upon us, which has reduced our amount of front counter traffic, and things are, for example, now with the planning portal, we're actually unable or prohibited to accept development applications in person. So there's been a shift in how other areas do business. Even the Office of Local Government official hours are between 9 and 12 noon. So there's a lot of businesses as well that you know, that are, I'm not going to say embracing, but having to review their customer service hours to try and minimise the costs and recognise the staff that they've got to attend to those inquiries as they come in.
I'd like to thank Darryl, Kylie and Eric for very comprehensively explaining the reasoning behind the motion.
Thanks. I have a question or two actually, Erica. Will the phone still be answered on a Friday if the door is closed?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So that is considered that, because we potentially think, and it's not an official yet, so that's why I didn't want to refer to it, but we've seen, we think, a choice by our community to go 9% increase in telephone and electronic servicing as opposed to in person. So that's why I would like to think we'll keep the phones going on Friday. That's why I haven't put that in there. We do find that it is that lunch period when we are trying to cover things, that it's the telephones. That's why Monday to Thursday, when, you know, if council chooses to do the trial, the phones will go through to voicemail and reroutes during the lunch period, but not on Fridays. On Fridays, we will have the phone system working.
Thanks. And with the fact that we have either no or limited ability access to internet across many parts of the Shire, and this is proposed to come in next week, is the advice, not so much the lunch period, but is the advice to people regarding the Friday closure, is it to actually commence the second part of the recommendation next week, and should they actually be deferred until such time as we get a newsletter out to every resident about the closure?
So we can do that if you like, now that can be considered. Yeah, I mean, this is a decision by council, so certainly we're seeing, because we're already having reduced traffic on Fridays, so we know that we have very reduced staff on Friday, so we're very lucky if we have 2 to 3 people on the northern side of the building, and also we're not seeing a lot of traffic. And in terms of notification, the community is very much used to saying signs on the door, I know it's not suitable. So that's the sort of one side of the case for, we could start to implement this from next week, but we could also delay this for another fortnight. But we would also say that there wouldn't be a lot of staff availability for services in any case.
It's just, I would hate to see people travel 2 hours here to find a note on the door and not having received a notification. So if someone would care to amend that starts later, I'd be happy to receive.
It goes out on the 10th of October. So we could get them to get in. It wouldn't be relevant for the work of the
That's we've mentioned.
So if we could have an amendment that the council undertakes a 6-month trial from Monday, or this even a bit of 6 months, undertake a trial from Monday the 3rd of October, etc., A, for 1, and 2, undertake a trial to close the main administration building customer service from the whatever date in October.
So the 13th.
So the week commencing the 10th, sorry,
Yeah.
of October,
Yeah.
because the 10th is the newsletter day, so people should have that at the very least on the 10th is when it goes out, so we're in the mailbox in that week.
Just Monday, isn't it?
Yes, we think
Yeah,
it's
so
on
whatever week.
17, 15, so we go from 15.
No, the 10th, because that doesn't kick into the following Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it gives them 5 days notice. Sorry, 4 days notice. Plus we'll do the normal channels as well.
Alternatively, if it needs to be a fortnight, then it would commence to, or the resolution would change to the 17th of October. If that's what
Would councillors be happy with that amendment to delay the Friday?
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, I think,
Yes, councillor Murphy.
excuse me, Madam Mayor, I think that they both should be from the 10th because if, for example, someone's going from Mangoola or from Torrington in Tom and my ward, and they get here at lunchtime, they think, oh, I'll come to lunchtime, go to council and go down to Coles or something, and they get here and it's closed. So I think we have to give notice to people who come from far away that the lunch times are going to be all closed on Monday and Thursday.
Let's make it all the
happy with that, or 17th.
17th, okay, 17th it is. I need takers. Anyone else?
Yes,
17th?
so now read from a trial from Monday the 17th of October 2022 to Monday the 3rd of April 2023. Moved by, not me, councillor McNish, seconded by councillor Murphy.
Were we going to put that amendment in?
That's now the amendment, so I need a vote on the amendment. Councillor Murphy.
Council National.
We had an amendment on the table, and I was talking about
Complaints by community review.
two.
Do we still also wish to add councillor Sawyer's foreshadowed amendment that
Just add it in with this one.
Under 2, Greg.
Huh?
In 2.
Yeah, just add it in with two.
and your words there, councillor?
Authorising the CEO, sorry, councillor, can I just have a bit of this?
Yeah.
Authorising the CEO to take any action required to adjust.
Due to community feedback.
Yeah.
I suggest a action on your community feedback. Great minds.
That's scary.
To Cora, you might have said another way. Thank you, councillor Peters.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Originally, council, when I say originally, back about 20 odd years ago, or a bit better, council always used to close from lunch from 1 till 2. Just an observation, always.
Back to the future, Tom.
Well, that's what they used to do. Everyone went to lunch at the same time.
Usually at the pub.
Thanks very much for everyone's input there. So I'll now put the amendment. All in favour? Carried. So the amendment becomes the motion. So all in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Erica.
Thanks, Erica.
Now, item GOB 79/22 on page 289, Upper Rocky River Road Public Gate Adjustments. Move and a second, please, for this. Moved by councillor Petty, seconded by councillor Knight. That will go to Dave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have received an application to do some adjustments and installations of categories on Upper Rocky River Road. Upper Rocky River Road is located in the south-eastern corner of the Shire, comes off Bittalimba Road, and the full extent of the road travels, we maintain it for some 23 kilometres. It pretty much just follows the creek, the river, that doesn't actually have any other access roads, or it's not a through road. The second half of the road is classified as a D-class road, basically just serves as joining properties, and lot 50 is located pretty much at the end of the roads. The existing grids are located at about approximately 18 kilometres down the end of the road. So there's only 1 or 2 properties beyond that. Through traffic, as I say, is unlikely. There are 1 or 2 properties beyond that, and there's also probably some access into the parks and the forest down there. So there is occasionally at holiday times, there'd be some tourist traffic, off-road camping and motorbikes, that sort of thing going through there. The applicant's actually looking to remove 2 existing gates that they have approval for. They're looking to remove those and actually install categories, so people won't have to stop and open the gate anymore. And then they're looking to put 1 internal category across the road halfway through that property. As an ideal, council would prefer to see all rural roads fenced and not have any structures on them. But we also appreciate in the agricultural process in the remote areas, that's not really practical on the basis of distance and cost. Also, access to water from one side to the other, to stop. And the other benefits too that flow on from this action is emergency services, for example, with rural fire service, not having to actually stop and open gates or try and go through them in the event of a fire. The categories just allow them to go straight through. So, so that's the proposal.
Comments, councillor Payne?
No, just move the officer's recommendation.
Yeah, I've got a highlight here, move and second for this one. Sorry, councillor Rhodes. Thank you. This is the one I put in the non-significant, non-pecuniary because we've got cattle on the ex-husband's property further south down there, so we do go through the gates. On one hand, it's been nicer to not have to open gates. On the other hand, it's not good for the people because it's good exercise. So, any questions, councillor Sapon?
Yes, I'm just wondering, the cost will be covered by the landlord from what I've read, but we have to do the work, so we'll be taking people away from other work.
That's all done by the landowner. The landowner is also responsible for 20 metres of pavement before and after the grids.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, so certainly I can clarify that. There'll be absolutely no council resources, certainly outdoor staff involved. They can do it for themselves or by contractors. The only thing we do is manage the process.
Expected.
Thank you. So no further questions? All in favour? Thank you. And final item in the open section is page 291. Item RES 9/22, council resolution register. Move in a second, please. Moved by councillor Murphy, seconder, councillor Tom Peters. Thank you. And I'll take it as read, and if there are any questions in relation to the resolution register. Thank you all. Happy to receive and note. Carried. So now, moving to confidential, so I need someone to move it to suspend standing orders and to move into confidential. Sorry, moved by councillor Petty, second by councillor Kimbrell. Thank you, everyone in the public gallery. Thanks for your attendance. See you next time. I don't think it was a